So standard form of linear equations. So we have seen slope-intercept where it's y equals mx plus b, where you can see the slope and the y-intercept. Then we've just recently we've been looking at point slope where it's y minus the y coordinate equals the slope parentheses x minus the x coordinate. So, oh, sorry, you couldn't see all of that. So this is point slope form because you can see the point and the slope. This is slope intercept because you can see the slope and the intercept. This is called standard. You will always see that standard is written some number x plus some number y equals 12. These are called coefficients. The number in front of a variable is just called a coefficient. It's spelled coefficient. It's just a number in front of a variable. So coefficient is just a number in front of a variable. So the coefficient of x is 6, the coefficient of y is 2, and then 12 is called the constant. Let me get blue. So the constant is just a number added or subtracted. So if you look, the constant in this one was the b. So all they did, these equations, is they moved it from being y equals to just being equals to that number. So first thing I'm going to go ahead and do is I'm going to change standard form into slope-intercept. So these are the steps to change slope, or standard, sorry, it should say standard. Change standard into slope-intercept. So we have 6x plus 2y equals 12. Okay, we're trying to get, so if we want slope-intercept, we want to get the y by itself. So we're solving for y. So step 1, add or subtract the term with x. So right now it's a positive 6x, so I know I need to subtract 6x. Now, I cannot combine these two. This is a 12, this is a negative 6x. I cannot combine them. So my equation would be written as 2y equals, and since I want it in mx plus b form, I'm going to go ahead and write it with the x part first. So it would be negative 6x plus 12. Okay. I don't know where my green pen is. I'll use dark blue. Okay, my next step, step 2. I'm still trying to get y by itself, so right now it's 2 times y. So the opposite of multiply by 2 is divide by the coefficient. Oops. So 2 times y, so I need to divide by 2. And you have to do it to all of it. Since multiplying you have to do to everything, the opposite of multiply, which is divide, you have to do it to all parts. So it'd be y equals, so negative 6 divided by 2. Negative 6 divided by 2 would be negative 3x, and then 12 divided by 2 would be 6. So that would be my slope-intercept. So anytime it tells you to change it into slope-intercept, that is what you do. Now, one of the biggest questions I usually get is why do we have to use all of these forms? So 6x plus 2y equals 12. I'm going to go ahead and graph it now that we have the y equals negative 3x plus 6, but I don't actually have enough room. I might. Let me try it. Okay, so remember the whole reason we changed it into slope-intercept is so that we could see the slope and the y-intercept. So the negative 3 is my slope. The 6 is my y-intercept. So negative 3 is my slope, 6 is my y-intercept. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Ooh. I should have moved that down, but that's okay. So 6. Now my slope is negative 3, so I need to go down 1, 2, 3 over 1, down 1, 2, 3 over 1. So that would be this line. Now, the reason we use slope-intercept, or the standard form, if you look at this, standard form actually gives you the x and y intercepts. Remember, the y-intercept is where it crosses the y-axis, so that is the y-intercept. Sorry, that's not very dark. And then this point right here is the x-intercept. And I've just put int for intercept. Now, this point we already know. This point for the x-intercept is at 2, 0. This point is at 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So we already know that information because we changed it into slope-intercept form first. There is a way to just look at this equation and know your x and y intercepts. So the reason we use standard form, and you can just write this at the bottom, I know I'm out of room. Standard form shows the x and y intercepts. Now, it's not as easy as just looking at it and saying what it is. So I'm going to go ahead and turn my paper over to show you. So we have 6x plus 2y equals 12. That's our equation. We know that our x-intercept, because we changed it into slope-intercept form, our x-intercepts was at 2, 0, and our y-intercept was at 0, 6. So when we're looking at our y-intercept, our y value, when we look at our x-intercept, our y value is 0. Remember, it's always x comma y, x comma y. So if you think about that, I'll move my hand so you can actually see. If you think about that, the x-intercept is when y equals 0 because it hasn't, like if you think about, use the back of this paper. If you think about a graph, when I'm crossing the x-axis, that means I'm anywhere along this line right here. I haven't moved up or down any. So my x-intercept is wherever I'm at along that line. And same this direction. I haven't moved left or right, so that's when my x value has to be 0. So let's go ahead and plug this in. So we know 6, the x value is 2, so I'm just taking these values and checking to make sure that they are actually on this line. So 6 times 2 plus 2 times 0 equals 12. 6 times 2 is 12, plus 2 times 0 is 0 equals 12. Does 12 equal 12? Yes, it does. Okay, so now let's look at the other one. 6, this is the x value, so 6 times 0 plus 2 times 6 equals 12. 6 times 0 is 0, plus 2 times 6 is 12, equals 12. So that works too. Now, there is a trick to this. So if you actually, oops, sorry, I'm trying to find the, so there is a trick to this. If you look at this equation, and I cover up the y part, because remember, when I'm looking for my x-intercept, I'm going to use 0 for y, so this actually cancels, because whatever this number is times 0 is going to be 0. So if you look, 6x plus 12, 6x plus 12, or 6x equals 12, I'm sorry, not plus. Ooh, that color is not show up. So 6x equals 12. If you divide by this, so I'm looking for the x-intercept. So if I cover this up, if I cover that up, 6x equals 12, and I divide by 6 and divide by 6, x equals 2. Do you agree that's what we found as our x-intercept? It's 2. Now let's look for our y-intercept. We're going to do the same thing. So it would be 2y equals 12. Divide by 2. Divide by 2. So my y-intercept is 6. So what I just did is I covered the term with y to find x-intercept, and then covered term with x to find the y-intercept. Now it sounds like that would be backwards, but as soon as I did that, sorry, I'll leave it there for a second so you can pause it if you need to. Whenever I did that, if I covered 6x, it gave me y, and y equals. So I knew it was my y-intercept because it's saying y equals this when x was 0. If I cover this part, it gives me x equals, so it's my x-intercept. So it like whenever I wrote this statement, it really sounded like it should be backwards, but it wasn't. So if we do another one, if we do 3x minus 5y equals 30. 3x minus 5y equals 30. And if I say, what is the y-intercept? So to find the y-intercept, I'm going to cover my stuff with y. Nope, I'm saying that backwards, I'm sorry. So y-intercept, I want to cover the x and show the y. So it'd be negative 5y equals 30. Divide by negative 5, divide by negative 5. So y would equal 30 divided by negative 5 would be negative 6. So my y-intercept for this one would be at negative 6. Okay, if I want to find my x-intercept, cover the y. I want it to show the x. So x-intercept, show the x. So it'd be 3x equals 30. So divide by 3, divide by 3. X would equal 30 divided by 3 is 10. Now, if I needed to graph that, all I would have to do is go along the y-axis to negative 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. That's my y-intercept. And then my x-intercept, so y-intercept is where it crosses the y-axis. X-intercept is where it crosses the x-axis. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So that would be my line between those two for that equation. Okay. You could easily find your slope-intercept by either just solving this again for y, like solving those steps we just did, or you could do y equals whatever the slope is, x, minus 6 because that's the y-intercept. So that is standard form of a linear equation.